Not how most of us arrive at an English country house, but this is President Trump and this is Chequers, the British Prime Minister's residence. There's nothing half-measured about the arrival of an American president. We had 2 Chinooks, we had 2 other US Air Force helicopters. He was on one of those. And now he's walked into a platoon of something like 12 limousines. Piped into a morning of talks to finalise a technology partnership, a tech prosperity deal and a lunchtime schmooze of some of the world's most powerful investors and business leaders. All a prelude to showtime, the press conference in Chequers' grand stateroom.
Mr. President, it's a pleasure to welcome you to Chequers, this historic second state visit.
And I just want to thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for the great job I think you're doing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President, you alone in the whole world, have the power to persuade Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop the demolition of Gaza City, to stop the starvation of Palestine, and to stop the killing of civilians. If not now, when will you exercise that power?
I want it to end, but I want the hostages back. I don't want the hostages used as human shields, which is what Hamas is threatening to do.
But as soon as they're back, that's the moment you will tell Netanyahu
to stop.
Well,
it would certainly help, but I have to have the hostages back.
Although this show was supposed to be a love story, they're miles apart here because Starmer is about to recognise a Palestinian state.
I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score.
Well, let me be really clear about Hamas. They're a terrorist organisation who can have no part in any future governance in Palestine. And
that's good.
As for that other major conflict, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, why hasn't Trump delivered the peace he promised?
The one that I thought would be easiest would be because of my relationship with President Putin, but he's let me down. He's really let me down.
We have to put extra pressure on Putin, and it's only when the President has put pressure on Putin that he's actually shown any inclination to move. So we have to ramp that pressure up.
And then a tense moment for the Prime Minister. Advice on how to reduce numbers of asylum seekers in the UK.
I told the Prime Minister I would stop it, and it doesn't matter if you call out the military, it doesn't matter what means you use, but it's going to destroys countries from within.
The Prime Minister was asked if Britain is a Christian country. His answer was intriguing because in the past he said he was an atheist.
I was christened, so that is, my church has been all my life, and we are, that is wired into our informal constitution.
The ghost in the room was Peter Mandelson, who created and negotiated today's tech prosperity deal as UK ambassador, though no one mentioned him because he's been sacked for being too close to convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, as some say was the president too. So was Starmer right to sack Mandelson?
I don't know him, actually. I had heard that, and I think maybe the Prime Minister would be better speaking of that. That was a choice that he made, and I don't know. What is your answer to that?
Well, I mean, it's very straightforward. Some information came to light last week.
The entertainment for Trump, Melania and their White House colleagues was daring do by the Army's Red Devils. One false move and the consequences would be unthinkable. Keir Starmer knows how they feel.
Robert, so how will Sir Keir Starmer think the visit went then?
Well, he'll have 2 contrasting sentiments. On the one hand, I think he will rightly feel satisfied with the investment deals that have been struck with American businesses. There's, some £250 billion of funds flowing actually in both directions from America to Britain and Britain to America. As for the press conference and the rest of it, I suspect he'll be breathing a sigh of relief and thinking he slightly got away with it because, let's be clear, Trump and Starmer are miles apart on issues like Israel and Gaza. There was always this risk that Trump would get really pretty visibly angry about the fact that literally within a couple of days the UK is going to be announcing that it's recognising a Palestine state, which Donald Trump sees as somehow rewarding Hamas. And equally, there's been no fiction, although So no illusion, although Starmer tries to sort of promote one from time to time, that all of Europe, including the UK, have been deeply worried that America and Trump are still not doing enough to support Ukraine. And then just anything, and then there could have been many other banana skins, of which the most obvious one would have been the American president saying something in support of Peter Mandelson. It was a sort of intriguing moment when Donald Trump said he didn't know Peter Mandelson, because we've all seen the pictures of Peter Mandelson standing behind Donald Trump, and Donald Trump being very friendly towards Peter Mandelson. And Peter Mandelson was in and out of the White House quite a lot. And the fact that Mandelson was sacked for being too close to Epstein, and many people say that Donald Trump was too close to Epstein, that could have been a very difficult moment for the Prime Minister, but he got away with it.
All right, Robert, thanks very much. Well, the President and the Prime Minister face some tricky questions over Gaza, Israel and a Palestinian state. Our international editor, Emma Murphy, has joined us in the studio. And Emma, did we learn anything new?
I think we had confirmed what we already knew, which was that there is a huge divide between the UK and the USA when it comes to foreign policy. I think what we saw today was that those divisions were laid bare, but nobody, particularly President Trump, sought to exploit them and turn them into some kind of event. There wasn't the real ambushing of Keir Starmer that there was definitely fear about. So let's just break it down. If we look at the biggest issue, Gaza, it's quite clear that the US do not approve of the UK's decision to recognise Palestine as a state. President Trump was very clear. We disagree on that. One of the few things we do disagree on. But he did leave it there. He didn't take it any further. But when pressed as to what America might do to try and encourage Israel to bring this to some kind of conclusion, it was very obvious that there was absolutely no plan in the president's head that he was going to intervene at any point. At the moment, it is just going to carry on as is. And then also in terms of Ukraine, which is the other big issue, yes, he spoke of his disappointment about the relationship with President Putin, but what we didn't hear was what he was going to do about it. He basically kicked the can down the road a little bit more by saying the onus is on the Europeans to stop buying Russian products, and as a result of that, America isn't going to be doing anything in Ukraine too quickly either.
OK, Emma, thanks very much. The Prime Minister has held a new technology deal with the US, which he said would create 15,000 high-skilled UK jobs and see hundreds of billions invested here. It will see the two countries work together on artificial intelligence, quantum computing and nuclear power. And the head of NVIDIA, the world's highest valued company, told ITV News it will start happening within days. From Chequers, here's our US correspondent, Dan Rivers.
After the symbolism of Windsor came the substance of Chequers, both leaders extolling the virtues of massive deals on AI in front of the tech barons who will build it.
The ties between our countries are priceless, and it's really an inheritance. It's a beautiful inheritance. Today we're making those ties closer than ever before.
We have, if you like, the great and the good of British and American business sitting with us.
One of them is Jason Huang, who heads the world's most valuable firm, NVIDIA. Last night he was banqueting with the King, today pressing his case with the President. He told me Britain is on the verge of an AI revolution.
In building these AI factories, which will create thousands of jobs for mechanical, electrical, plumbing, skill craft, it is also, of course, going to generate the high-value jobs on top of that in these next generation AI companies. And so I think the flywheel is starting to happen, and it's going to start happening this week.
The government says the £150 billion of investment from US companies will create 7,600 jobs across all areas of the UK, including 1,000 in Belfast and 6,000 from Glasgow to Warrington, the Midlands and the North East. Nick Clegg has derided the whole initiative as sloppy seconds from Silicon Valley. But tech bosses today rejected that claim.
I think thinking of it as sloppy seconds really does not do any type of service to what's really going on here. We're companies like us are coming here. We're building staff. We're training staff to be able to really provide this type of infrastructure as AI becomes so important for society.
As Donald Trump leaves Chequers, both the White House and Downing Street will feel this is mission accomplished, an AI deal in the bag, which they say will not only turbocharge the British economy, but could one day transform the way we live our lives.
The relationship, not just special, but now entrenched with giant US tech firms, for better or for worse. Dan Rivers, ITV News, Chequers.
We'll talk to Dan again in just a second, but first, let's go to our business editor, Joel Hills, who's joining us now from outside Lancaster House, where over 250 business leaders are meeting tonight. And Joel, the Prime Minister talking up the agreements today, and the numbers are huge, but how much difference will it make?
Well, this state's visit has been about good vibes and big numbers. I say that not being dismissive, because there is a real value, obviously, to Britain being very close to the world's biggest economy, and billions of pounds from US tech companies will undoubtedly create jobs here and help us to realise the benefits of artificial intelligence as it develops. But let us not forget, we have been watching political theatre. The US investment that's been pledged is not because of something a Prime Minister or a President has said. These are commercial decisions. They've been announced carefully, deliberately, to coincide with the state visit. They likely would have happened anyway. £150 billion over a decade is a very significant sum of money, but US firms invested much more than that, actually, in the last decade in the United Kingdom. And President Trump's leaving a lot unresolved about trade. The British government wanted to persuade him to lift tariffs on British steel. He didn't do it. The government wanted to persuade him not to put tariffs on medicines made in the UK and sent to the United States. He didn't agree to that either. In fact, it's worth remembering that the trade deal that was announced to great fanfare back in May between the UK and the US still hasn't been put into a legally binding document and signed. Parts of it have been implemented, parts of it haven't. But the UK trades on much worse trade terms with the United States today than it did a year ago. So I suspect when the red carpet's rolled up, the carriage is put away, that actually the outlook for the economy and living standards in the UK is pretty much unchanged. And the Chancellor still faces a very difficult budget in November. The state visit has not changed that.
OK, Joel, thanks very much. Well, as promised, our US correspondent Dan Rivers is still in Chequers for us. And Dan, the President left about half an hour ago or so. How are the American side viewing this visit?
Oh, I think they'll be absolutely delighted with how this has gone. Uncorking the champagne, although famously President Trump doesn't drink, so maybe uncorking the Diet Coke on Air Force One on the way home. I think they felt it went very smoothly. The biggest point of jeopardy really was that press conference, and really he wasn't challenged in any kind of forensic way about the Epstein scandal, which is one of the things that has dogged his presidency for many months. And he was able to talk about Ukraine and Gaza and other issues without appearing to sort of fall out with Sir Keir Starmer. I talked to one British diplomatic source who said that, came out beaming, basically, saying that they were all very pleased, particularly pleased with the way some of the big tech bosses, like Jason Huang, had been bigging up the British expertise that is here. That's one of the reasons that they are so keen on investing here, is because of the expertise that is already in this country. There are technical reasons as well to do with having, data centres on this side of the Atlantic and so on. However, as Joel has alluded to, there are significant, consequences to this investment, and there will be many people who say, well, hang on a minute, what about all the electricity? How on earth are we going to power all this? They're talking about building, small modular nuclear reactors when, we find it difficult to finish HS2. Is it really going to get off the ground, and, is it going to end up being mired in red tape? So we'll have to see how quickly all this actually progresses.
Indeed, Dan, thanks very much. Today's events at Chequers gave the First Lady the chance to spend some quality time with Queen Camilla and the Princess of Wales. Melania was given a personal tour of Windsor Castle, which included a look at Queen Mary's intricate doll's house. And then she was joined by the Princess of Wales as they met scouts in Windsor's Frogmore Gardens. Here's our Royal Editor, Chris Shipp.
Before he could start talks with the Prime Minister this afternoon, Donald Trump first needed dispatching from Windsor Castle.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great gentleman. A great gentleman and a great king.
Whether or not the King enjoyed being called great, his facial expression gave nothing away. But as the presidential limousine found its way out of the castle and squeezed through the George IV gate, the royal job was not done. First Lady Melania was still in the house, and a programme of events for Mrs. Trump was rolled out in the castle grounds.
Do you know what time we're okay?
As a future Queen, the Princess of Wales will one day host future First Ladies herself, and indeed First Gentlemen should that ever happen. Kate chose scouts of the youngest kind, they're called squirrels, to help out with today's royal charm offensive. And the mini table and chair Mrs. Trump used this morning, quite the contrast to last night's state banquet and its 50-metre long table. What do you think the First Lady preferred, the state banquet last night or the honey and tuna sandwiches today?
I'm going to say she preferred hanging out with our squirrels, taking part in creating and learning about bug hotels and wildlife and nature, and helping them to earn their Go Wild badge.
Indeed, every scout, young or old, needs a badge, but very few can say they got theirs from a resident of the White House. And when you're 5 or 6, remembering what you did today
Been making bugs, hotels.
Is a lot easier than remembering who everyone was.
The first woman and the Princess of England.
Let's just say he was close. If Britain had a First Lady, it would be the Queen Consort, and so Camilla was also part of Project Melania today. You wonder quite what Mrs. Trump thought of the world-famous Queen Mary's doll's house, which included seeing the tiny books from inside, even one Queen Camilla hand-wrote herself.
This, I had to, with my very large handwriting, I had to write forward.
Oh, beautiful.
In that.
This is very nice.
With Mr. and then Mrs. Trump waved off the premises, it was time for the whole household to conclude job well done. Chris Ship, ITV News, Windsor Castle.
And our royal team and I will have more analysis of the state visit on Talking Royals. From this week, you can watch it on ITV1 at 12:30 this Sunday afternoon, but it will still be available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.